Hi everyone, welcome. It's Thursday night, 9 o'clock. It's time for the Handicap Rugby Chat that matters. And yeah, looking forward to getting stuck in. We've got lots of excellent rugby ahead of us. Let's hope that COVID plays ball and we do get quite a bit of rugby on this weekend. We've already had one game cancelled, but plenty to get stuck into, and two guests to talk about the rugby with me, and I'll run through the intros to them. And now let's start at the top of the screen. I believe it's a bit of a double header tonight. He's just come off his own show with the yellow cap, Los Kamal. And it's welcome to Couch Critic. Couch, good to have you back on the show.
How's it, Brent? Thanks, man. Nice work on the Afrikaans there. Appreciate it.
Die Los Kamal, ek hou baie van Afrikaans. Ek praat die taal. And the man, he knows a bit of Afrikaans, but he doesn't speak a lot of it these days. He's actually in the UK at the moment. And last time he appeared on the show, I did announce on Twitter that it was his first time, but in actual fact, he has been on. But he was in disguise the first time he came on the show.
I was.
But of course, he was deep in the sort of Arab world there, if I could put it that way, where betting is sort of frowned upon. You had to stay disguised, Brendan, but you're in the UK now and you're appearing as yourself. Coyle O'Connell.
Appearing as myself, yeah. Good to be back on the show, Brent. And yeah, hoping I can throw in a few winners into the mix.
Certainly. How's your horse racing form going? I know you're big into your horses yourself, Southpaw and Katie on the Good for the Game forum.
Yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah. The forum's been in a little bit of form of late, which is good.
Yes.
But yeah, it's up and down, like most things. And I suppose when you're sort of riding the wave, you got to keep at it. And of course, when the form begins to go a bit sour, then it's time just to reel in the stakes, especially, and things like that. So yeah, racing I still love. It's still probably my first love. Rugby is probably a very close second, though.
Excellent. We're looking forward to getting into it. And welcome to the all the guys in the live chat, whether you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook. And there's a mutual friend of ours, Kevin Spector, saying Coyle is in the house. He is, and we look forward to getting his projections. But let's start off. We've got rugby early tomorrow morning already. We've got Super Rugby Aotearoa, of course, coming to us from New Zealand. And we're going to start off with that. I just want to bring up the outright betting, and I'm going to use Sunbet's prices here, just scrolling along the bottom there. But let's start off with Couch Critic, because Couch, you were in a cracking form last week with some of your Super Rugby Australia plays, both in the matches and long term. What have you got for us? I know you've got an article up on Good for the Game. The only reason I haven't read it, I promise you, is I've just been so damn busy. But I definitely will be, because you're in good form, and I know you're developing quite a strong following there for the Bet Olymp boys. What have you got for us in terms of, first of all, let's have a look at the outright market. Crusaders, firm favourites, Blue second favourites. Is there any value there?
Brent, listen, I think it's been a year break, and you still got the same excuse on my previous. Nothing has changed there except the hairdo, it seems. So listen, just on Brendan, New Zealand rugby jersey, Vessels, BW, New Zealand rugby jersey. Thank goodness I'm sitting down, because the bottom part is much tighter than it was a year ago when I got it in Oz. And how's it to Shane? Nice being back, guys. And then, on the outright, I've actually gone the opposite end of the market. So just in terms of the outright, obviously you guys are going to be talking Blues. I don't think you can back the Crusaders at that kind of price. To me, you probably have to look at some value, maybe Islanders-ish. That's probably the only thing I can think of. But I like to look at the other side of the market, and that's the same as in the Aussie one, where it's most losses. So that's pretty much to be lost. I think it's going to be the same thing. And to me, it's probably a Chiefs battle, and I think they're going to be battling it out with the Hurricanes. So I've decided to go for the Hurricanes to have the most amount of losses at 33-10. So that's my play on the outright.
Any guesses who I'm going for on the outright there, Couch?
Outright to win, I'm surprised, but it looks, it's probably a little bit of blue check that, Brent? You're claiming it as blue check, so it's Blues all the way.
Blues all the way, yeah. But I haven't got involved, to be honest, at this stage. But one thing I did notice with interest was Southpaw in the Good for the Game forum actually came in and took a bit of the 7-1 or 15-2 Highlanders to actually win the tournament. So quite interesting there that people don't think the Crusaders are invincible this season. And interested, Brendan, in your views, you got any long-term interest on this one?
No long-term interest yet either. I'd probably want to see a couple of games before making that call. Like Couch referred to there, the Crusaders 8-10, they look solid. They probably will make the final, you would expect, and it would come as a huge shock if they didn't. So I suppose taking 8-10 early on, the Crusaders, unless they went through a really bad run of form, And perhaps like tomorrow morning, if the Highlanders spooked them and managed to win that game, the 8-10 could go evens. So I probably wouldn't have a bet yet. I can't back the Blues, no matter what, with anyone's money. They have improved, and they were much better last season, but I think I've just been burned too many times by the Blues. But overall, nothing really.
Years, of course.
And I think nothing really stands out for me. Yeah, I'd like to watch the first weekend's matches completed and then make a bit of a call from there, and just to see like what's going on with the players, as well as COVID, etc. What sort of spanners could that potentially throw into the mix? It doesn't look like it will, but for now, nothing. Yeah, powder dry for now.
Right. Powder dry,
Brent,
but there must be some other market. Oh yeah.
Yeah, just the important thing that Brendan said there as well, though, is if you do expect the Highlanders to probably give the Crusaders a fright and maybe sneak a win, then actually backing the Crusaders after this weekend isn't the worst idea. Then as you said, it'll go over even money, and an away game, yes, they could slip one away game and probably still recover and win the entire comp. So that might not be the worst idea. And it's the same thing in terms of backing the Highlanders, even if the Highlanders maybe come up short, but it's a really close one. Their price might actually just strengthen a little bit. So yeah, those are the only 2 pointers from me on the outside. But yeah, try scorers, I've gone deep there. I've looked at the squads, as Score said. I mean, it's going to differ how they run out and COVID times and all of that. But I mean, you got to take what you see at the moment. And looking at the squads, I've had a look at the Blues. Obviously, danger all round, and you can see why everyone talks about them as usual. Caleb Clark, Mark Talia, and they're going to have Perefetu at the back. So it's a nice back three. And I really like the loose trio combination. They've got some guys on the bench as well. I think they've probably got 5 loosies there that are superb. So to me, if you had a look at the try scorers, I think there was Will Jordan at 6, and then a few were tied at 4, and 3 of those guys were loose forwards. So to me, a loose forward could get in the mix. And Oscar Situto for the Blues, just in terms of the Blues top try scorer, is 66-1. So to me, that was just a little bit big. The loosies of the Blues are all over the park. Obviously, Akira is the number one guy there, but I think he might rotate quite a bit. And Hoskins is a new All Black and pretty much on a high. So I'll give him a shout. And David Papa Ali was he was the combined leading top scorer for them last season. So he's a great runner at 3-3-1 as well. So to me, that's probably where you got to look. Have a pick out of one of those 2 loosies and get yourself in there. And then obviously the wingers are lethal, but hopefully they share it around a bit, So Caleb Clark gets 3 and Talia gets 3, and hopefully our man gets 4.
Excellent. Well, Shane asking a question there, Hein, and I know the answer, but I'll let you answer it. Does Hein still bet on hookers anytime try scorers?
All the time, every time, as often as I can. That's what I do. But I do think at times the guys are going away from the hooker move a little bit. Obviously, the Brumbies are still a go-to, and I'm sure we'll get there later. But I think people like Oracle used to say it's a bit of a fool's game. But I like to look at specific teams. I mean, everyone knows Ash Dixon at the Islanders. He's going to be a candidate. He's vice captain there. He's going to make some of the calls as well. So he calls it, go to the line out. He loves getting in the back of the maul. Obviously, his price reflects that as well, but that's something to keep in mind. And the same goes with the loosies. You just know who pops up more often than others. And in this case, guys like Shannon Frizzell and that kind of they're big try scorers, and I think it's worth backing them over other guys. So now I feel there's a little bit of method to my madness, but yeah, I might be wrong.
I guess the other thing that's happened over the years is the bookies have also caught on. I mean, there was a time where you could get hooker first try scorer at like 33-1. Now, I mean, obviously the game has changed as well. We never used to get as many rolling ball tries. I mean, I think we went through the Curry Cup. I think it must have been 80% rolling ball tries. It was ridiculous. But credit to the bookies. I mean, you can only take them for so long, and then you've got to look for value elsewhere. But they have caught on, and more often than not, we got a hooker trading as the shortest price in the anytime to score market, which you told me that years ago. I never would have believed you. But let's move on to the first game. I'm going to bring...
Absolutely. Sorry, Brent. Just and on that, I mean, you'd see, I mean, who would have thought Falao Fainga would be the favorite, for top try scorer in the Aussie comp. So that just goes you to show, where the game has gone. But sorry, Brent, I just did the Blues there, but I've got a few actually. The Hurricanes top try scorer for the season, Adi Sevilla. He was a bit out of form last season. I feel he's been given the captaincy of the Canes, so I'm hoping he has a storm. And at his absolute best, he's a heck of a try scorer. So getting him at 16-1, again in a Hurricanes team that I said I think are going to struggle this season. I think that's a really nice play. The same goes for Brad Weber. I'm hoping he's fit and starting the first game next week when they get going. Again, he's a senior in the team. He wasn't at his best last season. I'm hoping he has an absolute scorcher. Expecting the Chiefs to struggle, so that's not like one guy's going to get 10 tries for me. And Brad Weber is 16-1. And then, you can just have a look at the rest. But maybe the top tournament try scorer is the other one. And that's, again, I'm backing the Highlanders to have a strong comp. And Janan Areki is 18-1 to be the top tournament try scorer. He's going to be playing, half the games under the roof in Dunedin. Traditionally, except for the Ashley and Rolling Mall, they do like to throw it wide a bit. So Nareki at 18-1, that's my top tournament try scorer.
Excellent. Some great picks there from Couch. And if you couldn't make note of all of them, go to goodforthegame.co.za. You'll see them on the homepage under the Bet Olymp blog, or you can look for the Bet Olymp blog section and go and have a look at his posts there. But let's get stuck into the first game of the weekend. And we've got the Highlanders up against the Crusaders. Now, Brendan, I can tell you this game last year was about plus 9.5 Highlanders. In fact, that's where this line opened as well. There's been a bit of money for the Highlanders. I do see some money coming for the Crusaders as well, so there is 8.5 in places. But, I remember last year it was sort of plus 9.5, plus 10.5. And the Highlanders looked like they were going to win the handicap without a doubt. And I think it was sort of, last 10 minutes, 2-3 tries from the Crusaders to take it away. And they won by 20 points. Isn't that just typical of the Crusaders? And then where does that leave you now sitting on this game? And I don't want to hear you sitting on the fence here.
No, it's one of those games, I suppose. I remember it last year because I was on the Highlanders plus 9.5, plus 10.5. And I knew, as we always know with the Crusaders, right, that they can score 2 or 3 tries within the last 10 minutes of a match. And they can blow your handicap if you've backed the underdog and gone for the plus, let's say. Or, you'll be cheering, obviously, if you've gone on the minus, more than likely. I remember last year's match pretty well. And yeah, you're right. It was 3 tries scored by the Crusaders in sort of the last 15 minutes or so, and I think 2 in the last 10 minutes. And that put paid to my bet. Once again, I think, the Highlanders, they played well in patches last year, and I think Tony Brown this year will ensure a big improvement on all fronts. I have taken the plus 8.5 Highlanders already. I've made that quite a strong bet until I saw the Crusaders starting 15 and their bench. And then strong. Then I've seen it's kind of shortened in most places to 6.5 generally. And I wouldn't be surprised if it leans out towards 8.5 by tomorrow morning. I'm not as confident as I was. I still think the Highlanders can keep it close, but there is that danger of the Crusaders just scoring an arsey try towards the end and bailing you out. And I think that danger is right there, right up until the 80th minute, sadly. Unless the Highlanders are well within the handicap, at least a converted try anyway within the handicap. So that's my initial feel. The Highlanders on the plus, and I think it's generally what the forum was leaning towards as well. But to be honest, it's going to be a moderate bet, just a moderate strike at this stage.
Yeah, not as confident as you were early in the week. I'm with you there. I was sort of reading all the reports on the Highlanders, thinking Highlanders are good things. And then I looked at that Crusaders team and I said, hold on a second. I don't think I could take sort of plus 6.5 against the Crusaders team. That starting backline is absolutely phenomenal as well. And Brendan mentioned there the forum. There is a link to the forum below. If you are new to the show, you can go down, click that, and get rugby comments and bets all weekend. And we've also got the link to our Friday morning newsletter there. Let's move on to Couch Critic. Couch, here we've got a handicap, 6.5. As Brendan says, I'm also expecting it to move out to 8.5 come kickoff. There's already some 8.5 out there. What are you doing on this one? Handicapping, or are you looking at your try scorers at your hookers?
Brent, just on that, on the back line, do you think they've still got George Bridge and Braden Eno aren't even playing in this game? So, that just shows you what the Crusaders have in their cupboard. So it's going to get messy for some of them, but at least it's other New Zealand teams, so they shouldn't take a hiding. To me, I was hoping that this handicap was going to move out to 10.5 because I don't know, I've always got this mental buffer of I like 10 points in the bank for the underdog, and I thought, as you guys exactly, the Highlanders are going to be scrappy. They're going to fight it out, and hopefully they'll be able to stay within 10. at 6.5, 7.5, all of a sudden I'm not convinced. As Brendan said there, it's final 10 minutes. Crusaders, wear this jersey out of respect. New Zealand teams can kill you, and the Crusaders are such a big part of that All Black setup. So they know how to finish a game. So it's you're never going to sleep easy there. So it's a tough handicap, and I actually think the value. I know I go for these plays quite a lot, but it's the half-time, full-time. I think the Islanders are going to come out absolutely cracking. They're going to have the zoo. I think they're full to capacity in New Zealand, so it's going to be nice and vibey, and it's going to be a good atmosphere. And I think they're going to try and hit the Crusaders cold, and then Crusaders to come back. I've seen 11-2 on the half-time, full-time. So to me, that's a nice little interest. And I don't see the Crusaders getting beat if they go ahead in that second half. And I've gone the extra mile with Bet Olymp and gone for half-time, full-time margin. So it's Highlanders to lead by 1-8 at the break, and then Crusaders to win by 1-12, and then it boosts the price to 8-1. So those are the little interests for me just in the game. As I said, it's too tough on the handicap. I'm not willing to stick my neck out there. So that's where I'm going. And then in terms of the try scorers, Shane, I can't disappoint there. As I said, I expect the Islanders to start strong, and hopefully it's from a rolling ball. So Ash Dixon to get over the line as first try scorer is 14-1, and I'll have a little nibble. They've got me interested at that price. And then last try scorer again, going with my thought of the Crusaders finishing strong. Mitch Drummond 28-1, nippy scrum off coming off the back, and hopefully he runs that backup line and he gets an inside ball to score under the sticks and finish the game.
Excellent. Well, one thing, if you follow Couch Critic, you get some nice prices. Some big prices there, sort of 14-1, 28-1 marks. And it's amazing how often he lands them, so stay close to him for those. Brendan, just quickly before you coming in, total points on this game, 54.5. Of course, it's played under the roof. We're bound to get plenty of action. One thing I did note, and I know a guy like Henrik will point this out, we had many a game of two halves last year in Super Rugby. I think you had games storming out to high-scoring first halves, and then the second half, where you kind of expected the game to open up, where it actually closed down a little bit. Any thoughts on the total points line before we move on?
No. At this stage, the 54.5, I'd say, looks pretty well set. As we mentioned earlier, the Crusaders can score 2-3 tries very quickly. So if you're hovering on the unders, they can get blown out the water as well. It's a tough bet to really nail your colours to, I'd say, because it's played under the roof. You expect both teams to probably play decent running rugby. It's probably a game just to watch and try to get a feel in running if you can. I think, what was the trend last year? The trend last year, I think New Zealand games generally was the first half. Was it the first half that tended to be
highest scoring?
Yeah, it was the highest scoring of the two generally. I presume this year with a few changes as well, that trend will probably continue, I would say. 54.5, top of my head, I generally don't like to go overs. It's a no bet for me, I'd say. No bet for me.
Excellent. Well, I must say, I was going to say when I saw you were coming on tonight's show, people think Henrik is an unders punter. You started that many years ago. Of course, you are 20 years older than Henrik, so that's why you started. You've always been an unders punter. But let's stay with you for the next game, because we'll stick with Super Rugby New Zealand for now. Hurricanes plus 1.5 for the Blues. Now, there has been some money for the Blues. Yeah, this game was very much a choice game throughout most of the week. There has been some money, and I'm not surprised to see my Blues shortening there. But I know you're not a massive Blues fan. Is this a game you're going to get involved in?
Yeah, possibly. And let me just rewind a little bit as well with regard to the warm-up matches. I don't really tend to A, watch them, and B, put a lot of emphasis on them. This time around, though, I have managed to watch a couple of them, a couple of the games in New Zealand with the warm-ups, with my pinch of salt attached to it. For me, from what I've seen so far, I do feel that the Hurricanes will struggle this season. The Blues do look like they have the ammunition in the cupboard this time around, and they do look like they've got the mental capacity to go forward with it. I'd say the betting's probably right now. I managed to get a little bit of 9-10, the Blues outright draw no bet early on in the week, and I'm happy with that for now. And then this is a game where I think, it could degenerate in the second half, and I've got a feeling first half, highest scoring, that's a solid bet for me in this game. That's just around the 8 to 10 mark. And I would say with regard to points then, yeah, I'd say you're probably going to have quite a fast start. That's what I think. And then I might be looking at an unders play in running.
Unders in running there. Let's go up to Couch Critic, get his views on this game. Hurricanes, gee, not many people rating their chances this season. And let me tell you straight up, Couch, I'm on the Blues. I've got a bit of even money, and I might just be pressing them. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Brent, 100%. I mean, the amount of times I've told you the Blues are a good thing is, I could have been a millionaire, I suppose. But no, it's one of my favorite picks this week. I can't see the Blues stuffing this up. As Brendan said, that the big thing is the mental change. I think they're a little bit changed from the soft team that we saw a few seasons ago, or maybe the past decade, probably almost. I think they've toughened up a little bit. Pelota, I think, is running a bit more of a tight ship there. As I said, I love the squad. I mean, that back row is great. The back three is great. So Aotearoa Black being slotted in and hopefully keeping the 10 ahead of Plummer. That's the only issue I have still there with him at 12. But no, I really like this team, and I think they're going to get the job done. I was throwing Blues and France into doubles like big time. So it looks like the one leg's gone there, but. So it's all onto the Blues now. That's one of my favorite picks. I'm expecting them to shine, and then just I got them at 17 to 20. So I didn't get that even money that you had. But again, halftime, full time, I'm gonna go a little bit more speculative there. Blues 1 to 8 at halftime. I mean, I think it'll be a struggle at first tight, and then Blues to pull away. So Blues by 13 plus, and you're gonna get 9 to 1 on that. So if it's a tight affair first up and the Blues then blow them away, that's a nice play. That's where I'm heading in terms of how I think the game will go. And then my try scorer, Dalton Papali, I said he's someone to consider as an outright bet as well. At 22 to 1 as a first try scorer. You talked about a rolling ball, but it's not always that the hooker gets at the back. The Blues like to mix it up a little bit, and Dalton as a close range barger, he also gets involved. So yeah, as I said, he scored 4 tries last season. So him to score the first one at 22 to 1 in a game I expect them to dominate, I think is a pretty nice call. And then the big red dog, I've got him at 33 to 1 to score the last try. He's going to come up. He's going to be monstrous. You can't miss him, which is always nice. You can back someone that you can see across the park all the time. The big boy to score the last try, 33 to 1. I like that. And then just in terms of the points there, Brent, I agree with Brendan. I think this week, in terms of the points, is something to keep, watch in play. Maybe this one, as he says, the fast start, but the first game there, I'll probably just have a little bit of a look. As you guys say, it's often a game of 2 halves. So if you see in the first 20, it's slow, then you can go over. If it's fast, you can go under after that. So to me, that's points wise what I'm going to be doing.
Thanks, Couch. I muted myself there and forgot to unmute myself. But we'll move on to Super Rugby AU now, where the Brumbies are still trading as favourites. And Couch, I'll stay with you for the first game. We've got Reds minus 13.5 against the Rebels. That's at Sunbet. I did look this morning. I'm not sure. When I wrote the Good for the Game preview, I tipped minus 11.5 Reds. I'm not sure if there's a general line movement or just a bit of difference between the bookmakers. What are your views?
No, I think there is definitely a move. They all coming to hopefully our side of the bed there. I think the Reds, obviously, it could be the overreaction problem. You never want to be too confident after 1 week, and then usually things tend to tip back into balance. So maybe the Reds could have a hiccup there. But for me, the big play, and it's actually moved now, I think, to 6.5. I don't know if you can still have it at 5.5. Was first off Reds handicap. I think. The Rebels are coming in cold. They, to me, a little bit of a mismatch of a team. They haven't played together a lot, got a few new faces in there, even different countries and different styles. So I think they might take some time to gel. And the Reds, they're confident after their first performance, and they should hit the ground running. So first off, handicap, Reds 5.5. Obviously, if you're going to only get 6.5, play it. But that 5.5 was nice because it's a 6-point gap is just is quite a round one that I enjoy. But no, I'll probably still take 6.5. To me, that's my favorite play for that game.
Yeah, I like that one as well. I was very impressed by the way the Reds played last week, and particularly by the way they started. Because if you look at the way that game against the Waratahs went, they were well clear. In the second half, they played against 14 men, and they scored a couple of late tries to push the score out. But the damage was really done in the first half. So I like your handicap play. But let's see what Coyle O'Connell's got on this one.
Yeah, I suppose with any Australian derbies, and that's all we've got in this conference, obviously, and the one in New Zealand will just be with the Kiwi sides. Any kind of handicaps, they start going into the double-digit sort of area. It gets me a little bit worried. Having said that, though, I have a feeling this Rebels team will really struggle this season. They might begin to improve towards the latter end of the competition, like I was referring to, with a lot of new players there as well, and perhaps a few sort of differing styles. I hadn't really thought of the -6.5 at half time, and that certainly will get me interested. I think overall, the handicap of 12.5, that's the one I had, and I've kind of pinned that. I think that's a reasonable bet on what we've seen so far. Like you say, I don't like the overreactions very often. In fact, generally, I then go for the underdog on numerous occasions. But I think this time around, I just have a feeling that the Rebels really will struggle this season. It's their first game out of the blocks. They might be reasonable at times, but I really have a feeling that they're going to battle to score points this season. And as a result, I think, the 12.5 handicap and hopefully the 6.5 at half time should be covered.
Right, let's move up to Hein then. Hein, just having a look, did I get your opinion on this game?
My try scorers there. I've got the two worlds merging. Vunivalu is coming over from Melbourne Storm in the NRL, so it's obviously I've been watching quite a bit of him. He's finally back. He's been a bit of a bad boy, obviously, which just goes with being in the NRL, I suppose. But he's on there for the Reds to be on the bench. So last try scorer at, I think it's about 12-1. He's a devastating runner. So if things do open up in that second half and the Reds do just run riot, then he's a nice little play there. And I've just gone creative on the halftime, full time as well. So it's Reds to lead by 9+ points at halftime, but then them to probably take their foot off the pedal, Rebels to regroup a bit, and Reds to only win by 1-12. So them to come back a little bit, and that's at 10-1. So that's my creative play on that one.
Excellent. By the way, you do have to have a varsity degree to understand some of Couch's bets. But no, I like those creative plays, and it's a nice way to have an interest in the game without getting too involved. But Brendan, let's go back down to you for the next game. We've got another big Australian handicap. So this is the Brumbies, who are now, and the reason I was quickly tapping away, I typed the Hurricanes banner out twice, and I hadn't typed this one. The Brumbies -15.5 against the Waratahs. It's a big cap, but the Waratahs, they were blown away by 34 points last week. In fact, they conceded 41 on an unanswered point because they actually scored first. And the Brumbies looked pretty convincing in their win against the Force, who many of us fancied on the handicap. 15.5. Can we get involved on the minus here?
Yeah, this is one of those ambush games that I mentioned earlier. First of all, I was one of the victims that jumped onto the Western Force early on. One of the many victims that jumped onto the Western Force last week against the Brumbies. And within minutes of the game, I realized my bet was gone. Western Force were back to their horrible old way of hogging possession for tens of minutes on end without actually doing anything with the ball. And sadly, that bet was never in the running. So you kind of wonder, how bad really are the Western Force, or have they improved or not? And how good really are the Brumbies? I haven't liked the Brumbies for a couple of seasons now, but I was impressed overall by their overall composure, and they seem to have a really good team spirit going there as well. So my initial thoughts, was Brumbies on the minus. Again, it's a big handicap, especially on Australian derby. Once again, 15.5. But from what I've seen with New South Wales, they've just gone backwards at a rate of knots. And as a result, it's probably a no bet for me. But, once again, if the Waratahs get that early try, perhaps get onto the Brumbies sort of a -10 or 11.5, maybe. The 15-16, it just looks a little bit too high for me. You expect maybe New South Wales to try and bounce back. They got a couple of players back. There'll be a lot of barking in the changing room at what went wrong last week. But I just don't think they've got the players overall. So I think if the Brumbies can just be consistent, and we've known them to be a little bit inconsistent at home at times, Yeah, it's a game for me maybe just to watch and feel out the first 10 minutes and then make a play from there. But I wouldn't be backing New South Wales at all.
Yeah, I couldn't have the Waratahs. In fact, I'm going the opposite route. I'm very confident on this one. I think the Brumbies will win this, and I think the Brumbies will win it comfortably. I'm taking the minus 15.5. Couch, what have you got for us?
It's called the handicap, Brent, but I haven't got a call for you on the handicap. I think the Brumbies are like they're a Swiss watch. They're probably not fancy and they're not bling, but they're going to get the job done and they're going to do it on time. So to me, backing this Brumbies team to cover a handicap is always difficult. I mean, I've said beforehand, and I've got the Waratahs to have the most losses in the comp. I'm not expecting a good season. They delivered as expected in the first game, and I hope they continue in that fantastic vein. But 15.5 is a lot against a team that still doesn't look like they've got a heck of a lot going in terms of their attacking play. I think they do have a good opportunity this week to really, find their range and put a team away. But the Force didn't offer much, and they won comfortably in the end, but they didn't really, put them to the sword. So I'll be surprised if the Brumbies win by 20. So to me, it's not the play to go for. I'll steer clear of that one. And the big negative for me is the big boy has been he's losing out this week. So my outside play is pretty much down the drain there. And by the way, the other one, the Waratahs top try scorer, he got off to a great start and then he's out for the season. So what a shocker! That's horrible. Ups and downs of punting, but no, I think half-time, full-time, that kind of thing on the Brumbies. What I go for, Brumbies to lead by 1-8 and Brumbies to win by 1-12. So I'm just expecting them to efficiently get the job done, and that's about it. And then the replacement, obviously, McInerney, the C-Train as they call him, or he calls himself, I heard, he's going to score the try there. They're going to kick this to the corner. This time it's a definite. It's the Waratahs. They're kicking to the corner. They're mauling this over. Take McInerney to score the first try and Brumbies to win at 12-1 with better.
Okay, that's a nice one. At 12-1, you get the combination there. Couch, I'm going to stay with you because we finished with the Super Rugby now. We time to move on to a bit of Six Nations. We've got 2 games and not 3 taking place this weekend because, of course, the Scotland-France match has been cancelled due to COVID. But let's have a look and we'll get into the first game, Italy against Ireland. Couch, this is a big handicap, 20.5 points. Italy were hammered by France by 40 points in their first game, but they then came back to beat the handicap against England. What lies in wait for us here against the Irish?
Brent, I've usually got like a pretty steadfast rule there, and that's if you get a decent handicap like that, back France on the halftime. They usually come out. I think there was some ridiculous stats out. I don't know, someone shared it where, the first half they score is something, and then in the second half it's like almost 4 times that they get a bashing. So to me, I mean, you're going to get 10.5 on Italy on the plus. That's probably a decent go. That I wouldn't go on the outright. I still have to say, in fairness, I know it hasn't gone Ireland's way thus far, but I was quite impressed with the way that they're playing. And, just a few things didn't go their way. But to me, it doesn't look all bad. Obviously, a little bit of question marks there about Sexton, whether he plays or not, and how that sorts itself out. But to me, they're not quite as bad as they were, and I do have a little bit of confidence in them. But on this one, I'll do the halftime again. I'll back Italy on the halftime plus. To me, that's usually a nice go-to.
Yeah, Italy plus 10.5. I know Jordan, he also likes the Italy halftime handicap. Brendan, 20.5. You Irish, of course. Any temptation to get involved in the minus? Yeah, I agree with what Kat said. I think Ireland have actually been more impressive, perhaps, than critics give them credit for. At the same time, I'm not sure Italy are that bad. And Italy are bad. Italy are the worst team in the competition. But I actually don't know if this Italy team is worse than past Italy teams. And when they actually played that first half against England, they looked pretty good in patches. So that leaves us with an awkward call here on the handicap. But the good news is I've also got a total points line for you. So if you're not committing to that one, I'll bring up the points line.
Yeah, my initial thoughts here. I always like that Italy plus at halftime. It arrived last week against England. It got smashed in the first game against France. They were woeful in that first game, and then I thought they were much better against England. I don't know if that's just because England have just been so poor overall. But yeah, they've stuck to the same team, or the starting 15, I believe, Italy, and I think that bodes well for them. So yeah, I would tentatively go with that plus 10.5. Because at the same time, I look at the Irish team and I see they've made some good changes with a couple of returning players, and I feel that they're much stronger for it, especially in the pack. And then you've got Lamore on the wing that's taken the place of Keith Earls as well, which I think is a good move. Sexton, back at 10. Billy Burns, old butthead, is on the bench. And I feel that, Sexton, will he last the match? He won't. Of course he won't. Even if he does, he'll probably be taken off, after 60 minutes. Generally, Italy can really play badly at home at times. But I think that they would have taken a lot of heart from that performance against England. They were really good in patches. Once again, if they can just score with the amount of possession that they actually get, it will really go a long way in helping their cause overall. And it looks like they can score a few tries this season as well. So, plus 10.5 seems decent. And I also think the plus 20.5 full time might be worth it as well. The 10.5 will get the majority of the play. The plus 20.5 is a possibility. But I think what you're going to mention next is the unders play. And I've got quite a strong call on that because I do like the unders in this one.
Well, I'm going to mention what I'm going to mention. I'm going to come back to you because you'll see I'm actually not going to call an unders play on this game. Shane just mentioning there, what about Italy team total points? So I'm looking at Sunbet, and Italy is 13.5. Shane, total points line. And look, I got burnt in the first game against France. I went Italy over, I think I had them over 11.5 points, and they ended up getting 10. They had the one try disallowed. But I've just got a feeling that Italy can score a few points as well. And Dino just coming in and saying he actually thinks this could be the best Italian side for a while. And I tend to agree there. So, Brendan, knowing that I'm probably in the Italy over 13.5 camp, is that swaying you from your unders or in actual fact giving you a bit more confidence?
Perhaps a bit more confidence because I do like the plus 10.5 at half time, plus the 20.5 at total time handicap. Although having said that, the Irish team, I do rate this Irish side and I do rate this Irish starting 15. Having said that, the weather will be good, which also leans towards overs. There's a French referee, what's his name, Matt Renault. He's a bit of an over and an under. So there's only really that can give us an indication from that side of things. I just think that perhaps Italy's defense might just be a little bit better this time around. And as a result, I've seen quotes of 52.5 points. And I'm firmly on the unders there, 52.5.
Right.
So the 52.5 and 13, 26, 46. The 52.5 is a really good play, or the 13.5 is too low. So, I think 13.5, that I'd be an overplayer there for sure. I think it should be around this.
I mean, you definitely take a view of one or the other. You're either an overall unders player, or if like me, you fancy the Italy points, you just stick to that because there's nothing worse. I know some punters will take unders and then the overs Italy, and you don't know what to cheer for half the time. Couch, anything more? Just Brendan Vessels, the conductor, he's going to be back on the show soon. Jordan Lamore, first try scorer at 9-1. Anything else from your side, Couch, before we move on?
No, Brent, I haven't got try scorers for the Six Nations, but I must say that does sound good, and I am a fan. So that's a decent play. The only question is if we want. Again, it's almost like you said, they're cheering against yourself. If you want Italy to have a strong start and obviously a couple of penalties, then maybe you wouldn't mind Jordan Lamore scoring. But you wouldn't really want him racing away for the opener and then Ireland are 10 zip ahead. So it's a tough one going for there. And then, just on the points, I think it was against England that Italy was over 7.5 or something like that. I know Jordan pointed it out.
I got over 7.5 there. That one was delivered by like the 22nd minute.
Yeah, it delivered beautifully. So that was a nice one. But I must say 13.5 just all of a sudden sounds a heck of a lot more. I mean, you said there it was 12 points or 11 points. I think if you look at the average for Italy, it'll probably be around there 10-ish. So, it's again a couple of points probably higher than I would have liked it.
Well, let's go down to Brendan for the Wales-England game. Now, Brendan, I haven't had a good look around at the betting, but I know there was sort of 6.5 Wales. I know most of the punters seem to fancy the Welsh. It's plus 4.5 at some bets. I don't know what is still out there in the market if you can get 6.5, but definitely been some money for the Welsh here. I think punters just feeling that the bookmakers are overestimating an England side that appears not to be learning from its mistakes. What are your thoughts on this one? Are we going to get a really tight encounter here? You'd probably expect so.
Well, first of all, Wales, it goes to see now whether Wales will play against 15 men for the full 80 minutes for both games. Okay, that's the first thing. So, yeah, they played against 14 men against Scotland. They played 14 men against Ireland. They were underdogs in both games. They managed to win both games. Yeah, the pundits were all talking that Wales were going to struggle this season, and it certainly looked that way, especially with the late tests last year in November in that mini tournament that they held. And, Wales were no great shakes. They had big defensive problems. And as a result, yeah, they've managed 2 wins kind of against the wind kind of thing. So, yeah, they'll be up for it, obviously. Wales will be playing at home as well. England, they enter the game once again with doubt, I think. There has to be a lot of doubt in their minds. The newspapers here and the media here have been very scathing on Eddie Jones and a number of the players, especially the Saracens players, and they're just saying they're just not up for it. They're just not good enough, and there should be players that are playing in the Premiership now being allowed the chance to run on for England. And I probably tend to agree with that as well. A lot of these players are still running on reputation. And let's face it, since the World Cup, there hasn't been a lot of rugby overall. And with regard to the Saracens players, yeah, I think they're really struggling. So, yeah, an improvement from England, sure. Wales can take heart that they've managed 2 wins. They're not playing at home. They seem to have pretty much a full-strength side. The plus 6.5 is what I got earlier in the week, and I'm very confident with the plus 6.5. That's one of my better plays of the weekend, and an unders play as well. Anything under 40.5 points, I'm all over it.
Well, I can tell you there's still 6.5 available, so Brendan, confident there on the 6.5. But the bad news I will tell you, Brendan, is from a total points point of view, we're looking at a line here of 37.5, so that's quite low. I mean, you might be getting to the point there where you call that a no bet and have a look for an in-play option.
Yeah, probably. 37.5, I don't think it's been above 37.5 the last 5 or 6 matches between the two in Cardiff. 37.5, yeah, would still keep me interested. 38, 39, I'm definitely on. 37, 36, yeah, you begin to doubt it. Once again, French referee Pasquale this time around. I'm happy with him. He, as an unders ref, I wouldn't mind having him in my corner.
Right, 37.5 points there. T. Kawenga coming in. Don't trust England at the moment, but the plus is too short. I'm kind of in your camp there. I just think maybe 6.5, I probably was leaning well, but at 4.5, I just can't get myself to back Wales because, yes, I felt they have benefited from those red cards. Credit to them for winning the games, but I think things have flattered them in the early stages. Let's go up to Couch Critic and get his views on this game.
I think, I was going to say, I think BW's play there is the best. Let's just get a price on England to get a red card there. That has to be. I was like, I'm torn between this. I just don't know how much is bad England and, are all these quality players just over it and past their best and what exactly is happening. I was lining up this game from a long way out because I just thought, but Wales are being this thorn in my side where I feel like sometime they're just going to get a club. They're not a good side. They're going to get beaten. And, they've slipped the knot twice. And I feel like it's going to catch up to them. But again, just the wrong pointers at the moment. The top side available for Wales for this game. Yeah, I think it's loads of pressure on Eddie and the team. I think the knives are being sharpened now. It's everyone's not too happy with them. And I think losing at Millennium there is going to be pretty big for them. That'll might be the final blow. So I think England are going to come out, but do they really still have that quality? That's the big question. So to sum it up, it's not a play for me on the handicap. I'm going to take England 1-12. Yeah, there we go. Johanna's got the same one there. England 1-12. I just don't see, this is desperation time. I think they're going to claw. They're going to hopefully not bite because I don't need another red card. But I think it's going to be ugly and England are just going to squeeze out a result. Yeah.
Right, that brings us into the end. We of course would have been talking about France, Scotland, so they're talking about putting that game in July now. But there's other rugby and Couch. I'm guessing of the three of us in the studio today, you're probably the most likely to know exactly what's happening with the South African games this weekend. And I've had a quick look for betting on a couple of sites, and I haven't seen any betting yet. I don't know if you guys have seen or if any of the guys in the live chat have seen, but perhaps just take us through the South African games. What can we look forward to? And if you have seen any betting, by all means, give us some opinion.
Yeah, Brent, I think the big thing is the bookies know there are people like Hendrik Swart out there who are going to absolutely kill them if they come out with caps. Yeah, this is it's going to be a bit of a free for all because we talked about it tonight in the other show. It's like people have got different targets for this competition. You got the Bulls are going to play. I spoke to the CEO and Willem Strauss, the president, on Tuesday, and they're going to be fielding a young team, almost like the same one that lost that game to the Pumas. So, it's a completely don't be fooled by the fact that it's going to be the Bulls. It's going to be the B team, especially for the first half of this competition. So, they're not warming up yet. They're almost culling their squad at this stage. They're looking to try and find out who are the youngsters that they're going to take forward into the Northern competition, whatever they're going to call it now, Rainbow Cup or whatever. So they're looking at who they're going to take to that competition, and I think it's going to be the same for all the 5 unions going to that. So just look out for that and try and watch out for teams. I'm pretty sure the Sharks are going to do the same, bunch of youngsters, and but apparently the Cheetahs are going to have a full team. Obviously, they're not sure when they're going to play yet, so it makes no sense for them to rest, their big boys and anything like that. So. Yeah, Cheetahs, if there was an outright, but I don't think there's even a trophy for this tournament, so I doubt anyone's going to bring outrights out. But the Cheetahs would obviously be a confident play there. I think Ruan should be returning. Either he's there for the first week or he's going to be there soon. Frans Steyn apparently is going to be playing. So no, they're going to be the big shots in this tournament. And look out for the little guys, the Pumas. They're going to play their best team while the other guys aren't. So it's definitely an opportunity for Griquas and the Pumas. I wouldn't go so far as to say the Elephants because I looked at their team and that's enough said.
They've been out of action for some time, but that was a nice little summary for us there, Couch. And I think that I've just put the scroll on the bottom there and go down below the show. Follow the Good for the Game forum. You can subscribe to the threads, and I think that's the place to be because the moment the bookies handicaps come out, they're going to be punters, the likes of Hendrik, Son of a Punt, Thoughts on Sports, all of those guys. Going to move very quickly to grab the value, so you want to be on it there. Certainly, one thing I am looking forward to is I'm expecting a faster game than what we saw in the Currie Cup. We really did see the Currie Cup and I saw. I haven't had a chance. I was traveling most of the day, but I think it was even someone like yourself might have posted on one of the WhatsApps to say like Brent's going to enjoy the 30-second scrum rule, and they're actually going to be stopping the clock as well, which is not great for unders punters. But I've been seriously impressed with like the Six Nations and even Super Rugby last week. How they're managing the scrums. The scrums just haven't been the issue that they have been in South Africa. So I'll be looking out for that and hoping that we get some fast, entertaining play. Doesn't mean I want a lot of points, but I do want some entertainment.
I think it might have been old Sean Bugger that got on board there to tell you you're gonna because I think we've all seen those tweets from Brent Graham when he's got some money on. He's like, the scrum has taken 3 minutes. WTF happening there? So yeah, no. But the weird thing is that it's going to be for this kind of competition that isn't so high profile. I'm actually, we discussed it tonight as well. It's all good and well for the squads and the unions who are going to look to thin and see who can make it, but as a product, putting it out there in these bunch of youngsters, it's a bit of a strange concept. And with so much other rugby around, like you even putting it up here, Gallagher Premiership is happening. You've got the Six Nations on. Aotearoa is playing now. Super Rugby AU. So there's a lot of other products. I don't know who's going to be. Maybe the Sunday games will get some attention. I know you guys like it when there's some Sunday footy as well. So that's a good one. At least we can do that. But no, it's strange to see them implement some new, even though it's not new rules. It's more like just blowing, the shot clock and things like that. It's nice and fancy, but it's actually some things that have been there a heck of a long time. They just don't enforce it. The same with having to kick quickly and using it from the scrum. It's all there. They just never blow it. But yeah, it's nice to see it. And I think it might also be, since we're going north, Rassi and them want to also just make sure the fitness is up and we're going to keep up with the pace. So I think that might be a clever idea from them. But let's see with it. And again, the youngsters as well. You might see some points because the youngsters are going to take some more chances and, give the ball some air. So it could be a bit more of an overs comp than the Currie Cup was.
Yeah, and hopefully the bookies haven't adjusted from the Curry Cup, so that will be pretty good. I must say, you touched on another one of my pet hates, taking long time to take kicks. I think they should give players 15 seconds to take kicks. I cannot understand how staring at the post for so long can do anything. But anyway, I'm going to go into the Gallagher Premiership now, guys. We won't. The show's already 50 minutes in, and we don't want to. We won't go through. I've got a few bets to share from some of the good for the game boys. But Brendan, anything from yourself in the Premiership? We won't go through game by game, but anything that you fancy?
Yeah, tomorrow night, Friday night. Weather in the UK, by the way, is fine. The weekend will be really good. So I expect some points to be scored. I think every game last weekend was unders, I think, in the Premiership. And I think the only one that might possibly fall on the unders side of things tomorrow is tomorrow's match, and that's Sale at home against Exeter. I just saw the quote now. It just came up. It's 41.5 points unders. And that's going to be my main play on the Premiership, I would say. I see outright betting. They've got Exeter slight favourites, maybe sort of -1.5. Sale, I think you can get +2.5. Exeter haven't been that great. There was that loss last week with the charge down kick, etc. Northampton were quite outstanding in the muck that they were playing in. Unders for me tomorrow night, 41.5. I'm all over it like a rash. Later on the weekend, Bristol against Leicester. I think Bristol -10.5. I think that's where I'd be leaning. Leicester lost a few players towards England's side of things, as well as the two South Africans, Henry Liedenberg and what's the other guy? Jasper Visa. They both got carded last week, and they won't take part until sort of mid-March or towards the end of March. So Bristol -10.5 was my other big play. Other than that, nothing else stood out. I thought everything else was pretty much well priced up. Yeah, I'll think of anything else if as we carry on.
Okay, well, Brent Couch now, but just to go through Thoughts on Sports did send me his bets, half-time, full-time at 8 to 10 at Saints half-time, full-time. He likes them. Saints -4.5 at 8 to 10. Either team by 7 or less in the Chiefs Sale game at 11 to 10. And he fancies that very strongly. Just to mention, Brendan Vessels, the conductor, he likes the Northampton Saints -5.5 points up at Bath, have an injury crisis. And you've got Dave, who involves a bit of Pro 14 as well. He's taken the double, Dave Cooney. Munster -5 into Exeter +5. Is that in a double? Exeter +5 and evens against Northampton? I'm actually not sure if I can read his message correctly. So Dave, if you are watching still, just come in and clarify what your bet is there. We'll go into Pro 14, but just to touch on Couch, have you looked at Europe at all? I don't know if that's your game.
No. There's a lot of rugby that I have to focus on, so I'm skipping that. The only thing is, I know the boys are hot on the Saints, so no pressure, lads. I've thrown Saints to win into loads of multis this weekend, so yeah, I might not speak to you guys for a week if that fails.
Excellent. Well, I can read Dave's thing now. I was reading it wrong. He's taking a double, Munster -5 with Exeter +5 at even money, and then he's also taking Northampton -5. So those are Dave's bets there. I'm going to bring up, while Brendan talks, if he's got anything on the Pro 14, I'll bring up Thoughts on Sports bets on the Pro 14. Brendan, have you looked at the Pro 14 then?
I didn't look at it too strenuously, I must say. My eyes always tend to start looking at the Zebre and the matches that involve Zebre and Benetton, because I'm always looking for some kind of value in those games. This weekend, though, no, nothing really sticks out in the Pro 14. Yeah, I'll have a little look-see and maybe post something on the forum if I see it, but nothing for me at this stage. There's just too many team changes, too much inconsistency now as well at the moment for me really to have a go. If anything, the only one that kind of stuck out slightly, I do remember this one now, Zebra at home against the Dragons. The Dragons are just hopeless. Zebra are hopeless. But I think the handicap I saw is 1.5
yes,
in favor of Dragons. And I think the Dragons could finally get this win. That's been a long time in coming.
Well, we got Jules, who isn't watching the show, I don't think, live tonight. Or if he is, he hasn't commented, so you'll probably catch the replay. But he's a big Dragons fan. And he's been, I mean, the other day they were leading Leinster, I think, coming into half-time.
Yeah.
And in the end, Leinster still managed to win the game. But here we got Pro 14 Tipster. He's very active on Twitter. And Edinburgh, he's saying -1.5 and Dragons -1.5. So rubber stamping you there, Brendan. I just want to bring back Neil's thoughts on sports. Benetton, Connacht under 48.5 points. Edinburgh to beat the Scarlets, so he's also on the Scarlets at 8 to 10 on the board as opposed to the -1.5 outright. And the Dragons to beat Zebra at 8 to 10. Cardiff under 17.5 points. But what interests me is everyone likes the Dragons this weekend.
Whoa.
Am I right in saying you just can't back a team like the Dragons with any confidence, even when they play in a team like Zebra?
No. I've got full confidence in these lads. It's as I said, I'm opening up my betting accounts now. It's Edinburgh and Dragons going into some multis there. Thanks, gents. That's going to work wonders.
And Brendan Vessel's also coming in, going that he likes Dragons, Morati back, and possibly Jamie Roberts. So yeah, there's plenty of rugby this weekend. So much to watch. Pity we didn't have a bit of betting on the South African games to show you, but I guess, as Couch says, it probably is understandable for the bookies. They just feel like they're absolutely just waiting for a Rogering there, the poor lads. Anyway, Couch, first of all, thanks to you, a double header, having to change from English to Afrikaans. You did it very well, by a donkey. And good to have you on the show, and always good to get your contributions and your unique betting style. Have a cracking weekend.
Cheers, Brent. Thanks so much. I think my best play of the weekend is going to be the Reds in the first half.
Reds first half by -5.5, I think, -6.5, somewhere around there. The Reds first half. Okay, that's Couch's best bet. Can you believe I forgot the best bets? Brendan, I'm not going to forget yours. What is your best bet of the weekend?
Yeah, you guys got me worried a little bit about Wales now. But I'm going to split it. Wales +6.5, and tomorrow night Sale against Exeter under 41.5.
Under 41.5 there. Well, I'm going to ponder mine for the newsletter, but I do fancy quite a few this weekend. I'm going to be getting involved in the points. I do like that Italy points player, but could it be that I make the Dragons the best bet of the weekend? Well, that would certainly be a first. I can tell you that, but you never know the way things are going. Brendan, thanks. Great to have you back on the show.
Yeah,
and,
lovely.
Pleased to hear the weather's good in the UK, and I hope you go out for a jog or something, because the next time we see, I don't want to have to run you off the park.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
Excellent. And to all the guys who did watch us on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter, thanks very much. Always enjoy your comments on the show. And we'll be back next week for the rugby show that matters. That is, of course, the Handicap. Have a good one.